Greetings, family. So I'm here today to give an update on the necessities for shipping supplies. I did a podcast on that, so it's in the previous episode, so look for that. If you haven't, check out the podcast, anchor.fm/Anja Africa, spelled the same way as the YouTube channel. So today I wanted to talk about what you need to think about when you are packing your items. Okay, we talked about the supplies you need. So now that you have your supplies, you have to really think about how you're going to ship these things. And also, I'm going to go over some of the emotional stress that takes place when you're going through this process. One of the things that I did was I thought I was going to be shipping in barrels, but remember, if you don't have barrels, you're packing from your home. They may put those bags you have in barrels when they take them away, but they need to go into secure packaging. So I ended up using vacuum bags. I use contractor bags. And I use, if you've ever been to the market and you've seen some of the vendors with the red, white, and blue bags, or the green and white plastic bags with the strap, they kind of look like maybe like a plastic potato sack, if you will. It's supposed to be a stronger plastic. I use all of those to pack, right? So I use the vacuum bags. I vacuum sealed my items. If it was glass, I made sure I wrapped those items in paper. I put all of my plastic items together that I knew I didn't have to worry about it breaking. But the glass stuff, I wrapped in paper, I wrapped in cardboard. I put them in different things, bubble wrap. Mostly I use paper because that was inexpensive. I took like an old catalog that I wasn't using, and I just pulled the pieces out of the catalog and used it to wrap my glass items. So there's an idea for you. Use some of those maybe magazines or things you're not using, put them to good use. The other thing you could use would be like pillowcases. If you're going to be taking linens with you, if you're a person that needs to sleep on a certain thread count, you may be taking your sheets, your pillowcases, your towels, your washcloths. Use those things to wrap your items instead of packing them separately. Okay. Curtains will work as well. Anything like that that you know you can secure the items. Put them in, vacuum pack it. After you vacuum pack it, that bag is usually clear. So I use contractors' bags. So, they look like these, right? They look like lawn and leaf bags. The difference is that contractors' bags are made to hold like cement, wood, nail, things that would come with like building supplies, right? When you're kind of renovating a home, you need a garbage bag to put the plaster in. So the contractor's bags are very strong. They're not like your average lawn and leaf bags that kind of, are pierced or torn easily. So you want to consider that. After you do that, you have your vacuum packed bag, you put it inside the contractor's bag, seal the bag, tie it, tape it if you need to. That's where we talked about having like duct tape, to take care of that extra piece. And then you put it inside of a container, right? If you use a plastic container, you want to use the containers that are not clear. I mean, if that's all you have, it doesn't matter because you have it in the black bag anyway, so people can't see what's in it. But I would recommend if you're buying containers, buy the containers that are matted so that you can't see through them. It's one solid color. And then when you get that container, you want to make sure your items are in there securely. They're not shaking around, so fill it up as much as you can. And when you are about to seal your container, here's the trick, right? Because this was something I really didn't know. Let's act like this is the lid for the plastic container. This happens to be metal, of course, but you're going to act like it's plastic. You're going to take your plastic container lid and you're going to drill a hole in each corner, right? So use your largest drill bit, drill a hole in each corner. So it's 4, right? So it'll be this corner, top corners, and the bottom corners, right? And then you may even want to drill a hole on the side. So I'd say drill 6 holes in your lid. right? And then you're going to drill 6 holes where your holes on the lid match the container where they fit on. You want to drill a hole in the container in that same location. Then after you drill your holes, you're going to put your lid on, or your top on securely, and then you're going to use these. This is where these come in, right? Zip ties. Now, don't be like me and get the ones that are too short, right? They have longer zip ties. Get the longer zip tie because you don't know how much space you will need. You have that flexibility. Or if you do like I did, you can take two and put it together, right? You can put two together and extend the length of your zip tie if you make the mistake of buying the short ones like I did. So I bought this size, but I also bought these. Like, I bought these little tiny ones because I plan to use these on my suitcases on the plane instead of buying a bunch of the little locks for your suitcase, the suitcase locks, the little key. Nobody wants to be bothered with all that. I'm gonna put these zip ties on my suitcases so that no one is going inside my bags. Okay, same thing, you put those on. Check out the podcast I did, and I talk about, utilizing those zip ties, the sound that you should hear when you fasten them securely, because if you don't do it right, it's going to keep slipping. You want to make sure that when you pull that zip tie, it doesn't move. Oh, the other thing I learned, they have zip ties that you just pull and you lock, and they also have zip ties that you have to use a nail and secure down onto whatever the item is. You don't want to get those if you're doing it on plastic, right? Because you've already drilled a hole, so you don't necessarily want to have to drill another one. Get the zip ties that just lock immediately. The other thing to do, if you're not using a container, but you're going to use those giant bags that I said the vendors use, I found that mines weren't very strong. I think maybe the discount store I bought them from had the bags too long. So I did that same process. I used the vacuum bag, the black bag, contractor's bag, and then I also used those vendors bags, but I put tape around them to make sure they're closed. When I went to zip some of them, the zipper didn't work, so I had to tape them up. I taped them up and closed them up, fastened them securely, put some more tape around them. After putting the tape on them, I wrote my names on each of my containers, right? My first and last name. Some people put a phone number. I did that on my containers as well. The other thing I used was a duffel bag. I had a giant duffel bag, like an army duffel bag, so it had to be about 5 feet long. I had stuff in there. That was zipped up securely. I put the zip tie on the end. I actually zip tied it, and I put tape over the whole zipper. And then I wrapped tape around the bag with that one. And the other thing I used was I had an old vintage suitcase. It was huge. I had a bunch of stuff in there as well. I put plastic around that. That was the other thing I used. And I also put tape around that to make sure it didn't shift or the zipper opened. And then I used the little zip ties on the zippers to make sure they weren't sliding or moving back and forth. So I just wanted to share that with you, give you some ideas on how to pack your things. Um, put things that are alike together. That way, when you're unpacking, it's easier to find things. So if I had toiletries, I put all the toiletries in one bag. If I had seasonings, I put all the seasonings in one bag. If it's, shoes, I'll put all the shoes in one bag. So I have all of those things secure. So you have an idea of how you should proceed. And again, refer back to the podcast where I talk about necessities for shipping. Before you even think about shipping, get your supplies. Then think about how you are going to ship these items. Is it going to be a container? Is it going to be a suitcase? Is it going to be a duffel bag? Is it going to be a regular bag? Based on the items that I was sending, I ended up using a few of all of those things. The other thing, more importantly, right, is that you need to decide who you're going to ship with. Do you have a reliable shipping company? um, I have to, to be honest with you, this is where the emotional piece comes in, right? Because I was very like nervous about shipping. I'm like, what if my stuff doesn't get there? What if someone interferes with my things? Like I had all these kind of doubts, and that's like, I know my stuff is not going to get there for like 2 to 3 months after I go. I sent things that I'm hoping to open my business with. I did not send things that were personal to me. So my stuff that I need immediately, I did not send. But the things that I want to open my business with, I sent because I'm going to need time to find a location to do what I need to do. So, it just was kind of nerve wracking for me. I was up to like 5 o'clock in the morning. Mine's graduation was that same day. But the great part was that, the shipping, the company that I used, they came to my home with this giant U-Haul, and they were shipping for a bunch of people. Their prices are very reasonable, and they tell you all you have to do is pick up your item. There's no additional fees to pay. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping that if my things arrive and they're not damaged and everything is as it is, supposed to be, then I can also recommend this company. So I don't want to recommend a company that I didn't necessarily try, but I was comfortable with this company because this individual has been calling me since last year. A friend of mine gave me his number. He told me he was reliable. I called him and said, listen, I'm going to be moving to the continent and I need a shipper, and I'm not ready now, but I just wanted to get an idea about prices, blah, blah, blah. And he got back to me, and every month he would text me and said, are you ready to send anything? Do you need to? I'm coming into your area. Do you want to send? So the fact that he was responsible like that and kept in touch with me, I said, okay, this is a reliable individual. This is someone that has shown me consistency and that he's about his business, Even when the brothers came, the brother that owns the company, he stayed in the truck. But, when I went down, he was documenting everything, told me to take pictures of my items. The brothers that came in were very patient with me. I told them I didn't know what I was doing, but I hope I packed the stuff. And I was telling them, be careful. The stuff is really heavy. And they were like, oh, this is light. This is no big deal. So, of course, I'm thinking it's super heavy, but they were, they're used to doing this. It was nothing to them. These brothers were strong and ready to get the business done. And I'm worrying about, I made the containers too heavy. But, that mentality comes from when we travel, right? They will tell you that, your suitcase is too heavy and they're charging you extra. But that wasn't the case with this brother. It was one price. Like I said, very reasonable, half of what I expected to pay, and they loaded everything. I just had to have this stuff ready. So it was convenient that they came to my door, picked up the items, packed up the truck. There was other people's items in there. So I guess he will have a full container by the time he's ready to ship. He ships out of the DMV area. He told me to call him before I leave because he'll probably be coming back down in another week or 2 weeks. I'm hoping it's 2 weeks because I just realized how much more I still have to send. I guess I wasn't really comfortable initially sending things, but now that I know it's an option, I'm more comfortable with it. I know what to do. I will be exploring sending more items, and I will let you all know how that works out. So I hope this was helpful for those of you that are going to be shipping items. And again, I have the contact information. If you need it, feel free to contact me. And that's it for now. I will keep you all updated as I continue packing. I'm about to start packing up some pans and cooking utensils and things like that. So as I pack up the pans and stuff like that, I will let you know how I proceed with that process, how I process pack up my dishes and my glasses. It's a different thing when it's an international trip. So we will see how that all works out, and I will keep you all up to date. Thank you for listening, and blessings.